I supported the Raiders last night because I picked the Raiders to win, and there's something about, even though I won't gamble, Big Cat, there's something about having a competition with someone you work with, and Sims and I have a competition full season, all the picks, and we disagreed last night. I had the Raiders, he had the Chargers. That made that game so much more exciting to me. Now I know how you feel when you've got money on a game. I was into it, and the Chargers and the Raiders had what was kind of a sluggish game for long stretches, but when it got down to crunch time, when the Chargers went ahead with 4:02 left, it's like, can Derek Carr and the Raiders really pull this off? Can they drive down the field and score? And they did. 75 yards, 10 plays. Josh Jacobs pops through for the touchdown. And then when Daniel Carlson missed the extra point, there it was. The ball's on the tee. The opportunity for Phillip Rivers to do Phillip Rivers things and get the Chargers in position to win. That emerged, and of course, they failed to do it. And I saw some of your tweets last night. When you got 3 timeouts and roughly a minute to play, what the hell are you doing throwing the ball 30 yards downfield on every snap?
It was absolute insanity. Now, the Chargers have played the exact same game for the last decade straight, and that is close game, back and forth, Phil Rivers with the ball, a minute left, trying to score. And what they did with those 8 plays, they were 0 for 7, and then including an interception to end the game. 3 timeouts in your pocket. All you have to do is go 40 yards for a field goal. How do you not run maybe a screen? Phil Rivers now, watching it back, because I did say it's crazy that Anthony Lynn lost the game with 2 timeouts in his pocket. You cannot lose a close game and have timeouts in your pocket. That's not a thing that you can carry over where he gets 5 timeouts in the first half next week. So I watched it back a little bit. There were some underneath things that Phillip Rivers was trying to hit. He just was terrible. He was really, really bad. I think Anthony Lynn screwed up by not giving him maybe like a draw or a screen, because when you have 3 timeouts, Mike, and you only have to go 35 yards and you have a minute left on the clock, that's like 10 minutes of football. That is more than enough football. If that happened to Aaron Rodgers, if that happened to Tom Brady, if that happened to Russell Wilson, would you even blink? Would that even be a question that they would be able to get their team into field goal range? Russell Wilson did it last week against the Bucs. I think he had 1 timeout in 45 seconds, and he got down to field goal range in 15 seconds. It's so easy for a quarterback to get 40 yards with 3 timeouts and a minute left at the end of the game. And this means that, to me, I hate to say it, but we've seen Eli get benched this year. We've seen Big Ben go out with an injury, but this might be the end of the 2004 draft class, which is an unbelievable quarterback draft class, because Phil Rivers looks like he is at the end of the career right here, because that was really bad. 0 for 7 with an interception at the end of the game. None of them really even close, just hucking and heaving down the field. He now, Mike, 12 out of the last 16 games that Phil Rivers has played, he's had doubled at least 2 interceptions or more. So I feel like this is more an indictment on the Chargers going forward, and we got to get to the Raiders. We will. But I have questions about Phil Rivers going forward and how many years he has left. Probably only 1, maybe.
I don't think he has that many, not with the Chargers. And we've been talking about that all week, the things the Chargers can do. I think Cam Newton is a candidate for the Chargers next year if he doesn't stay with the Carolina Panthers. But I think Rivers is done. I could see him with the Titans next year to kind of end his career for a year or two. But let's focus on the philosophical underpinnings of that final drive, throwing the ball as much as they did. Anthony Lynn, after the game, was asked, why didn't you run the ball on that potential go-ahead drive? Let's hear what Lynn had to say.
I was trying to move the ball down the field. We needed to score. And they did a heck of a job. They locked us up. And I think we had 8 shots. I don't think we gained 1 yard. So, we put ourselves in position to win at the end. We didn't stop anybody, and we didn't make any plays on offense. It's disappointing.
When Josh Jacobs scored that touchdown, my first thought was, oh, crap, there's too much time on the clock. And then when Daniel Carlson misses the extra point, my next thought is, here it goes. The Chargers are going to do it. And, they did throw some controlled passes that were aimed at just, moving the sticks and getting but it just was off. Like you said, he was off. And he would have had a couple of more interceptions last night. They were bailed out by penalties. There was a questionable interference call in the first half that knocked out a Carl Joseph interception. There would have been a third Eric Harris interception. He would have pulled off the Rod Martin feat with 3 interceptions if a guy wasn't lined up in the neutral zone. So Phillip Rivers had a bad night, and it finished in a horrible, horrible way. But I think they've been thinking about moving on from Phillip Rivers Big Cat, for the past couple of years. I know Sims had heard that maybe they were going to take a shot on Deshaun Watson, and they're one of the teams that in hindsight can say, why didn't we take Patrick Mahomes or Deshaun Watson in 2017? But there was some talk that maybe they were thinking Deshaun Watson. I remember when Marcus Mariota came out, there were rumors that maybe they were going to try to get him and unload Phillip Rivers then. I think that this is it. This is his last year with the Chargers. I don't think it's his last year in the NFL, but I think he is done with the Chargers. And you know what? I thought Derek Carr was going to be done with the Raiders after this year. Derek Carr, even though they could still maybe look to upgrade at the quarterback position, and ultimately that may be the difference between being a playoff team and an elite team, they're going to be 7-4 unless they get upset one of the next 2 weeks against the Bengals and the Jets.
Mike, I'll go one further. I think John Gruden might be Coach of the Year. I think he deserves Coach of the Year for what this team has done. Their Vegas win total was 6 before the season. They are going to, like you said, who do they have next? The Bengals and who else?
The Jets.
The Bengals and the Jets. So they will hit their Vegas win total. They'll go over that by week 12. I mean, this team has been wildly impressive. I think we all thought it was going to be another rebuilding year where they weren't going to be able to put together a lot of wins. They go on the road for 5 straight weeks, because that Bears game was in London that people got to remember. To bring a team on the road 5 straight weeks. I remember that Vikings game, Mike, when it felt like it could all teeter and everything could fall apart. They go into Indianapolis. They win a really good game there. They beat a Bears team that was still had a pulse in week 5 in London. So I think this Raiders team has been very, very impressive. And John Gruden, what he has done with a young roster, a tough schedule, 5 games on the road, keeping this all together. Oh, and by the way, Mike, they're moving. They're moving, and they don't know sometimes where they're going to play. We've seen this before. I mean, Bill Belichick has talked about the weight of what caused, the Browns when they were moving to Baltimore, what that did to that team that year. Jeff Fisher has talked about moving from St. Louis to L.A. It is very difficult to keep a team together when you know you're going to move the team to a new city. Now, obviously, it's not a huge move, and it's been in the works for a long time, but I still think that John Gruden has done a phenomenal job, and I count myself as one of the people who made a lot of jokes at his expense, but he has put this thing together, and it looks like the Raiders are on the right path, and they are a legitimate wild card contender. They are a team that can sneak into that 6th spot in the AFC, and I never thought I'd be saying that after week 10.
And if they do make it to the playoffs, I think he will get Coach of the Year votes. People ask me all the time, if Bill Belichick is the greatest coach of all time in the history of sport, period, how is he not the Coach of the Year every year? Well, the Coach of the Year ends up going to the coach whose team best exceeds the loose and general expectations for that team going into the season. You think the Raiders are going to stink? They make it to the playoffs. Their coach must be Coach of the Year, right? You've got the Colts. Andrew Luck retires 2 weeks before the start of the season. They make it to the playoffs. Frank Reich's Coach of the Year. You've got a team like the Packers with Matt LaFleur, and look at what they're doing. And we didn't really expect much. We didn't know what to expect. They hadn't made it to the playoffs for 2 straight years. They end up the 1 seed. Matt LaFleur, Coach of the Year. It's all determined by what we expected going in. And as the season started for the Raiders, we didn't expect anything. I remember how stunned I was that they beat the Broncos week 1 on the Monday Night Football nightcap. Like, it's just the Broncos, and then they lose the next 2. But yeah, boom, they beat the Colts, and then they took care of the Bears, and like, this team's for real, and they fought through some adversity. And this whole idea of not having a home and just 7 weeks away from Oakland, and it does. Here's the thing that really, I don't know, I'm having a hard time processing this. I love the shots of John Gruden mingling with the fans after the game, and I respect the folks in Oakland for being as positive as they can possibly be, knowing the team is about to be ripped out from their chests, right? And maybe there's wisdom in making it a 3-year separation. You can cycle through all of the stages of grief before you get to the point where the team leaves. And bringing back Marshawn Lynch was genius. Bringing back John Gruden was genius. It made those final years a celebration more than, just angst and hatred, and we're not going to the games, and it's just going to be one ugly showing after another. So I like how the Raiders have handled their exit. When I see shots like last night, though, I wish they weren't leaving.
Yeah, I absolutely agree, Mike. I tweeted that last night. It breaks my heart when I see this. There's nothing worse than when a franchise is ripped out of the hands of a very loyal, passionate fan base. We've seen relocation in the NFL throughout the years. There have been times when, okay, a team's leaving. I mean, listen, I think the Chargers should be in San Diego, but the Chargers fan base was nowhere near what the Raiders fan base is. I still think they should be in San Diego. I'd like to see them go back to San Diego. But this one is an especially like, I know they've been a transient franchise. They've been in LA in their history, but still, it hurts to watch the black hole, the Oakland Raiders fan base get their beloved franchise taken away from them. And they'll still root because they're diehards, and Vegas isn't that far away. But there's something about what Oakland was, what Oakland is right now going on, the black hole. It was so unique to the NFL, and it's something that we're losing as fans of the NFL to see that, 8 times a year.
All right, we're going to take a break and continue this conversation about the Thursday night game. It was a game that a few weeks ago, you look at it on the schedule and think, ugh, but it ended up being a great game with playoff implications.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.